Baron. Welcome in, everybody.
Hi, friends. So we're doing a little bit of an early freeze frame, but I felt like it was important because I had tried to record a clip previously and it just didn't really turn out how I wanted it to. So we're going to try a voiceover instead because it feels really weird to just jump into a lighthearted video about my reading plans when, especially in the US right now, things are very heavy with the mass amounts of deportations, with the deaths caused by ICE. Never did I think that my home state of Minnesota was going to be making the news for such incredible violence. I'm going to leave a few resources in the description box if you feel so moved, but I just felt like I had to say something because it just feels too strange to jump into a silly, goofy video when there's so much that's so heavy right now. Hope you all are doing well and that this video can serve as a little bit of levity in your day.
So today we are talking about my February TBR. For the past couple of months, I don't even know if I want to call it a reading slump. I mean, I guess it's kind of a reading slump. I've been extra moody as a mood reader. It takes very little for me to kind of lose interest in a book. I will very rapidly switch and decide I want to read a sci-fi romance, and then I'll be like, but what about historical? So I've been a little bit all over the place.
All right, jumping in with a little bit more of a fun voiceover. Oh my God, that freeze frame is stunning. As I'm listening to myself talk about what's going on with my slump, I'm like, oh, so your anxiety and depression are back, because those are the symptoms I experience when I have anxiety and depression. Nothing holds my attention. I'm not very interested in things because my brain would rather be in a doom spiral, making up scenarios of things that'll never happen to me, but I believe are catastrophically real. But anyways, just silly, goofy girl things. Anyways, back to my yammering about my not reading slump, what? Okay, bye.
With my reading, my TBR is going to reflect that. I've got a little bit of everything in the hopes that I've kind of accounted for as many possible moods as I can so that I have something kind of on deck for when I go through kind of that rapid mood switch. But I'm getting better at, I think, identifying what I want to read. So hopefully this list is a nice and solid one for me. I also have noticed that I've had better success for whatever reason the past couple of months with audiobooks over physically reading. So I'm probably going to be prioritizing more audiobooks in the upcoming months until I can kind of get through whatever this strange moodiness is that I'm experiencing. With all of that said, without further ado, let's talk about all the books I'm hoping I'll read. So first up we have Wildblood, and this is by A.J. Vrana, I believe is the last name. This is a paranormal urban fantasy. I think it's kind of got like a noir sort of feel to it as well. This abstract blurb does not feel the most cohesive, so I'm giving to you what I think this book is about to the best of my abilities. But essentially, we have our hero. He is an underground fighter, really loves it, and he's really good at it because he's a monster. But that's a secret. That's not like something that's out in the open. He's fighting typically other humans. That is until he loses a match to a very mysterious opponent. It seems like he's got a ferocity that is a little bit closer to his own, so I'm assuming another monster of some sort. And then I'm assuming because of that lost match, he finds himself beholden to the underworld. He's got to recover a very precious item from very dangerous criminals in Boston. We also have his partner, Maya? I don't really know. And they have the capability to traverse dreams. So she spends her days investigating supernatural phenomena. But one of these days, when she's doing her job, minding her business, she gets a very interesting proposal to help find a missing teen and also potentially meet someone that's like her. It seems like there's something that comes up that makes these stories intersect in some way. It says, threats of their pursuits weave a menacing tapestry. So at some point, these two storylines intersect, although there's nothing in the blurb that makes it obvious as to why that would happen. And then Kai, our hero's past, comes back to haunt him as well. So this has been a book that has been on my TBR since its released. And you know what's wild? I remember seeing this and just being like, wow, that is a striking cover. This really sounds interesting. I've always had a love for paranormal fantasy romances or urban fantasy, so this caught my attention immediately. I do not remember though if this was something that someone recommended to me. This was something that I heard about because the author had issues with their release. I don't remember why this initially caught my attention, but basically since it's been released, I've wanted to read it. It's been on my radar. Now, the good news is the audio was just Regardless added to Hoopla, I feel like I've got a better shot at actually getting to this book finally. And I think it'll kind of satisfy that fantasy paranormal itch that I've been finding coming up more and more. But it also sounds like it's probably going to be pretty high action because it says it's like The Witcher meets John Wick fantasy noir. So I'm thinking that this will be something that'll be high intensity and can keep my attention throughout the book. All right, so next up is A Face in the Crowd by Christina Kirby. This is a rock star romance. I'm gonna be honest, this blurb doesn't sound like anything too terribly special, but regardless, I'll tell you what it's about. So we have Alexis, who is our heroine. She really isn't looking for anything. A lot of her time goes to her job working as a nurse. She ends up having a night off, attends a concert to her favorite band, and ends up being pulled up on stage. And that is how she initially meets the singer Oliver. Through a series of events, it seems like he gets stranded in Atlanta, and these two have a little something something that starts, and their plans for the future start changing, but someone wants to keep them apart. So I'm curious if that's one of them being resistant to wanting to move forward with the relationship, or whether, it's more of like a suspense type thing where someone has it out for them. This is kind of a weird story about how I found this book. Long story short, my aunt found out about my YouTube channel, which is fun because she is also a very avid reader as well. So it's led to some fun chats about books. Actually, as a side note, she is part of the reason that I got back into reading as an adult, because she would randomly send me books that she just really liked. Remember very distinctly, she sent me The Girl on the Train, I think, that thriller that was really popular a handful of years back, or like a decade back, now that I'm saying that. And then also The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, which I really enjoyed. But anyways, the author is a friend of hers, and my aunt keeps saying how much the author reminds her of me. So I was like, well, I'm really curious about this one. It is pre-2021 tropification, so I'm hoping that there will be something a little bit unique about this one, but the blurb does sound pretty straightforward. Regardless, I'm excited to give it a go. And honestly, I find this cover kind of impressive because I'm like, with a few tweaks, this would look really modern. But anyways, that's why I want to read that one. So next up I have Sunday Morning, and this is by Jewel E. Ann. This one is more of a forbidden small town romance. So the premise for this one is that Sarah, the heroine, is a preacher's daughter, and she's a bit of a people pleaser. She's just about ready to graduate, and what she wants to do is go off to Nashville and pursue her dreams of singing. But her entire small town thinks that she's gonna marry and settle down with the son of a wealthy rancher. But she's not exactly sure that that's what she wants for herself, especially when, I guess, is it boyfriend or fiance? I mean, the guy that she's involved with, his older brother ends up returning home after serving in the military. Now, he spells all kinds of trouble. He's tattooed, he's got bad habits, but he also shares a love of music similar to our heroine. So Sarah starts to feel a pull towards him, and when he starts giving her guitar lessons, playful banter starts to turn into a little something more. So Julianne, that was very high pitched. Julianne has been consistently able to deliver books that are very high impact for me. They're usually very emotional. The heroines are usually at this very pivotal time in their life. It's a lot of kind of coming of age, a religious deconstruction, and even though her books aren't perfect for me, she writes in a way that I just seem to devour. And I think especially right now, that's something really important for keeping me reading a book and not just setting it aside and DNFing it. I also am pretty encouraged about reading this one just because there's a lot of similar elements to the Naked Fisherman duet, which end up being a favorite last year. So I'm hoping that those similarities will kind of pull me back in. That seems to be a winning combination with her, but also because this was a favorite of Sam's from Sam Reads a Little. And I'm really interested in where she's going to take this kind of similar combo, this similar setup with slightly different circumstances, and what direction she's going to take it this time. Next up, something completely different. I have Tension by C.A. Rene. It's a contemporary dance partner romance. I think it may be age gap. I'm making assumptions, but I feel like the woman's older. I could be lying to you, but the vibe seems right. This is about Mateo, who nearly overdoses, loses everything. He kind of has bad relationships with his family now, and he's back in New York and trying to reestablish his life. The one thing that he knows that has always brought him joy, that really makes him feel alive, is dance. And it sounds like maybe he was like a prodigy dancer of some kind. So this is what leads him to Veda, who's a very disciplined dancer and co-owner of a very elite studio where she is hosting auditions. When they dance, it's clear that their chemistry is undeniable, but boundaries are supposed to be really clear in this relationship. There's teacher and student. It says there's over a decade difference in their age. She's married as well, it seems. Assuming I'm reading all this correctly, because dude wrecked his life, so I don't think he's married. But anyways, the lines keep getting blurred. And the stakes get even higher as they prepare for an elite competition in Paris. So this is a first in a duet. It's been on my radar, on my mind, because I've seen the reels that Rene has put together of these dancers, and it's so evocative. I've been very curious about it. But she recently finished the duet, so I'm like, perfect. If I want to be able to binge and really just spend a bunch of time with two characters with kind of a unique setup, I haven't read a ton of books about adult dancers, or if I do, it's usually the heroines of Ballerina of some sort. So I'm excited to see a couple trying to pursue a goal together, because I've also found that that's been a combo that I really like because it gives them more excuses to spend time together. There's also more space for them to like get under each other's skin or accidentally learn things about one another, and also have more to do than just like, wow, I find them so hot. We're working towards something. And I also really like this author's writing. I read a while back, she has a series that is somewhere between cult, secret society, rock star. It's a whole bunch, but it's very, very gritty. So I know that she can deliver that emotion and that kind of like dark intensity as well. So I am really hoping that this one is going to be a winner. I mean, plus this cover is just so good. Next up is one that I don't think anyone's been going to be able to predict, but here we are. Next up, I have Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So historical romance, obviously, it's a classic. But we all know what this one's about, I think. Elizabeth is prejudiced against Darcy after he makes some kind of like arrogant and misinformed comments. Darcy has to overcome his pride in his social standing. We got that Pride and Prejudice. Anyways, why I want to read this is because there is a year-long Austen read-along that a handful of content creators are doing. They're doing every other month a live show, book discussion, and I think they're also doing some like movie, like watch-along type situations. I don't know what to call that. I wanted to participate because this was actually something that I was going to make a goal for this year. And then I felt like if I actually made it a goal, I wouldn't actually do it. And this gives me something a little bit more tangible of like every other month, I'm gonna read an Austen. And then also the fun of being able to participate in a live show discussion. But if you want more details, Crystal from Books Forever After, I'll leave a link to her video down below talking about ins and outs of that and who's all participating and where to get all the information. Pride and Prejudice is gonna be their March read, but I'm trying to get a step ahead because of the moodiness, you know, trying to give myself a little extra time to make sure that I get this read and I'm able to participate in the live chat. I really did want to participate in the first month, but it clashed with when Lynn was here, so I wasn't able to participate. So I do want to go back and read Sense and Sensibility, which was their January read. I remember really loving that one in high school. That one and Persuasion, I think, were my two favorites, if I remember right, which sounds weird because I feel like Pride and Prejudice is everybody's favorite. So I'm really curious to reread and see if adult me has different taste in Jane Austen's work. But anyways, let's move on. So my priority read that I'm going to be reading for this month is Homebound by Lydia Hope. This is a first in an interconnected series. It's a sci-fi, I think kind of Prison Planet adjacent type book. So the premise for this is that Earth is declining, so the most wealthy citizens have fled, leaving only like the poor and the destitute behind. So Gemma is one of those citizens, and she works at a prison that dangerous is. Exactly. It houses the most dangerous and ruthless prisoners. I don't know why there's such a big gap. What's happening with my brain right now? Anyways, she's assigned to the alien ward. She ends up meeting Simon, which is a weirdly human name, and I still am not over that. But he seems to be dying and wasting away in complete isolation. Now, it sounds like they're probably experimenting on him, that there's something that he either produces to create something with his DNA, something along those lines. He is creating some sort of breakthrough in research, which is why he's looking how he's looking. But she ends up taking pity on him and trying to nurse him back to health, ignoring a lot of the rumors that he's extremely high risk and not to trust him. I can imagine why he would be considered dangerous. He's got people that are experimenting on him. He hates humans. I would too, frankly. And poor sweet Gemma has provided him now with the perfect opportunity to finally escape. I wanted to prioritize this one this month because sci-fi romances have really been working for me, especially ones that have some sort of plot or other focus other than the alien partner needing to mate for whatever reason. That's just like not the style of sci-fi romance that I really like. I like when there is more plot. I think because previously I was a very heavy like space opera reader. So I feel like this is something that's gonna deliver all of the elements that I want. That's why I'm targeting this one. I actually did debate whether or not I was going to do this one or The Last Hours of Gann, but I think just given that it's a shorter month and who knows what's going on with me reading wise, I just didn't want to put that on the list and then, you know, not get to it. So I'm going to start with this one. We'll see. Maybe I'll get to it still. I don't know. I need to be careful with the words that I speak. Let's move on. So I don't know why I did this to myself. I'm going to briefly mention a couple of February can I get a vowel? Hello? Here's a bunch of February releases. These are releases that I'm hoping to maybe get to, but again, with the moodiness, who knows? But I did just want to make you aware it may be something that I end up picking up. But the first one is Eldrith Manor, I think. And that's by Leigh Rivers and Avina St. Graves. This one, I believe, is coming out on February 3rd. And I think that one's kind of like a paranormal-ish, like more fantasy style romance, maybe haunted house. The next one that I'm tracking is Betray Me Once by KV Rose. That'll be coming out on February 13th. This is an MFM, I believe, hockey romance, dark. So that one's set to come out on the 13th, as I said. And then the final one is Cruel Summer by C.W. Farnsworth. That's coming out on February 24th. And that's the next installment in her Kensington series. I think that this is one that I'll probably want to pick up immediately, but I don't think I'll get time to read the full thing in February itself. Those are all of the February releases that I'm tracking that I might also pick up. I haven't looked into them because this is a lot of just like blind trust in these authors because I like what they write. And then finally, for the vlog, I don't know what I want to do. Like I said, I've been very moody with my mood reading. I've been DNFing a lot. And so I haven't really been able to force myself to get through books if I'm not liking them. Like I'm talking about, there's books that are even 4 stars that I'm kind of like, who knows? I'm kind of debating between something that is going to be like cold settings and wintry. So if I did that one, it would be from Lukov with Love, which is an ice skating pairs romance where 2 nemesis, you know what? Sure, why not? They end up doing pair skating because she's about to retire and she just wants like a good season going out. Credence, I want to read kind of regardless because my sister just read it and I want to talk about it with her. The heroine loses her parents and ends up living in an isolated cabin with her step uncle and cousins, and things take a horny turn while she waits to turn 18 so she can be out on her own. And then I was debating between either Snowden by Navessa Allen, I think, or Slashes in the Snow by Never. I don't really know. I could even swap that out for something else. But those are kind of like, that's generally the vibe. But if the moody, mood readery, what are words? Okay, let's try that again. If the moodiness ends up continuing, if I'm really at a high DNF rate, I don't want to read those books because those are ones that I've been anticipating for a while. Even if they're just okay, I want to be in a space where I can push through so I know what everyone's talking about. I want to be in a space where I can actually finish those books and not just DNF them because I just lost interest midway through. So if I am still very moody, I may just do it's a reading slump. Let's try and get out of this together. That was very millennial of me and I hated every second of that. Why did I do that? But you get what I'm saying. I just want to do something where I'm just mood reading and we'll just be like, let's see where the reading for the next week takes us and DNF ruthlessly if I need to until I can find some winners and try some different strategies for busting up the mood. Anyways, I'm over explaining myself at this point. Thank you so much for being here, listening to me ramble. I feel very incoherent at the moment. There's a lot going on in my life and so I feel like my brain's just all over the place at the moment. I would love to hear from you what you're planning to read in February. If you have read any of the books that I mentioned, I would love to hear your thoughts on them. Spoiler free, please, though. And with all of that, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like this video if you found yourself liking it at any point, and don't forget to subscribe if you would like more content from me. I would really like to have you back for another video, so I really, really hope I see you on my next video. Bye-bye!